Hello, welcome to the 4P podcast. I'm your host, Michael Paterno, and I got my lovely, beautiful, and wife and co-host with me, Mrs. Carrie Paterno.
Hi.
We have episode 69. Oh, that's the best number.
Okay. You're, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's like my itchy asshole from the last um episode 68.
Oh yeah, if you want to
Um
hear about Michael's asshole, itchy asshole, go to episode 68.
yeah, it's a very funny text message. So we got episode 69. We're talking about Trump and Obama talking at Jimmy Carter's funeral, the Dallas snowstorm, California fires, and the TikTok um not ban anymore, but now TikTok is back, and the red dye number 3 ban.
hmm
So yeah, we're gonna be covering those 5 topics on episode 69 today. So welcome. Thank you for listening, watching, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you like the show, please share the show, subscribe to our YouTube page, 4P Podcast, and please go like our social media pages on X, TikTok, and Instagram. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, so I want to. The first topic is Trump and Obama talking at Jimmy Carter's funeral. I don't know if you've seen some of the videos on social media, but it was kind of funny how, like, I don't know what they were talking about, but they were doing a lot of laughing and smiling, and they were
hmm
like being quiet, and they were sitting next to each other. I remember it was Obama, Trump, and then Melania was right next to Trump on the end. And you could see like the Clintons were close by, the Bushes were close by, and all the same people sitting together, and then Kamala Harris and her husband, and Obama and Trump were not talking. They didn't talk to Clintons. They didn't talk to, just in the few videos I've seen, they didn't talk to, like, surprisingly, Obama wasn't even talking to Kamala. I just thought the whole thing was kind of weird. And I thought it was kind of funny at the same time because neither of them, it's almost like Obama is like he's trying to kiss his ass because he knows all the corruption that he's caused. So he's trying to kiss Trump's ass. But then it
hmm
was kind of funny how he didn't say anything like to the Clintons, and he didn't say anything to Kamala Harris and her husband. Fucking what's his name? Doug Dale. Fucking
Doug, yeah.
yeah. Um,
I, I didn't see any of the videos, which is interesting because like I'm on social media all the time, but I
Maybe your algorithm's fucked up.
it's not fucked up. It's just my algorithm, honey. No, but I think people underestimate the depth of what people actually know to be true now about government corruption.
Mhm,
Like, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people, hopefully, that should be scared that Trump is back. Hopefully that's the case, but I do think that because of the awakening of government corruption and like, one of the only good things to come out of COVID was the unveiling of how corrupt the government is. And
mhm,
I think that there's a lot of politicians and people that are surrounded in the political space that are, um, a lot is going to come out about them. And because people now have been like awoken to that, I think it's scaring a lot of people. Even if Trump does nothing, right? Like even if Trump doesn't like take the mask off, like all these politicians or clean house or rid the deep state, whatever the hell he said he's going to do. Even
drain
if
the
he
swamp.
drain the swamp, yeah, like even if that didn't happen, I still think that so many people, because like I said, I am on social media a lot. I think so many people have even like, and we'll talk more about this too when we talk about the California wildfires, but like even Hollywood, even people, not the Oprahs of the world or like, the big A-list Tom Hankses of the world, but like even Hollywood is like awakening to political corruption. So I think there's people like Obama who like, what you did. Now we know what you did, all the things, right? And people aren't so not stupid, but ignorant to what's been going on.
I mean, Bush was like the original, like, pushing the baton along to fuck a lot of things up, and then Obama took that baton and then really fucked things up, and then Trump got it. But yeah, I mean, I hope he drains the swamp, but it's hard to drain the swamp when you keep bringing the fucking swamp with you. Some of these people that he's got put in his cabinet. Um, but yeah, the I think it was interesting. I just think it's interesting to look at those videos and try to gauge and make assumptions of what the temperature in the room looks like. Like, you got the Clintons over there, sitting in the first like two rows, and Obama and Trump are not talking to them, um and then Kamala Harris and her husband come through, and they just, like, Obama was just kind of like, hey, like, and then they
Well,
sat down, and it's just, you try to, are they trying to make it look like nobody's buddy buddy, or are they trying to make it look like behind closed doors, like, you know in the public eye this is how it looks, but then behind closed doors everybody's fucking handshaking each other and high-fiving everybody.
no, I don't think that's it necessarily because I think there's too much of a Trump support, I think, out there for him to be that stupid. But I do think that it's interesting the dynamic when you think about it though, because if you think about who was at that funeral, just from what you're telling me, because like I said, I didn't see the videos, but the Bushes, the Clintons, Kamala Harris and Doug, um, and just like all those people, like those are not the Obamas, but Obama having such a big influence, being a president for 8 years. But like the Bush family runs deep in politics, like the
Hmm.
Clinton family runs deep in politics, and like so you think about like obviously Trump was there because it's a formality, like he's a past president and a past president died, so like okay, Trump was there. But it's interesting how there's never been such an overwhelming support for an incumbent president to skip a term and then be reelected as there is with Trump. And like Trump is not even a political family. So I go back to I think there's a lot of fear. I think there's a lot of fear in these politicians where like their families run deep in the history of politics in this country and there's like a lot of bad stuff that's happened. So
Hmm.
I think they're trying to keep some sort of camaraderie because then they don't look as bad. And I think there's a lot of backpedaling that's going to come from that. And I
Hmm.
just hope that Trump is like firm in. I think draining the swamp is like that's an allegory. I mean, I think that's not like an easy thing. That I think that's a hyperbolic statement. Like I don't think that it's like going to be super simple to just drain the swamp. But I also don't think because he's had such a support in getting reelected through all of the obstacles in becoming reelected, assassination attempts and them trying to put him in prison and indicting him and all this stuff. I don't think that he or his, strategic team of people leading him through being a president for the second time after everything that's happened to him. I don't think that there is a I don't think there's a strategy advisor that stupid to um how do I say this? I don't think it's for nothing. I think that people are scared. I don't think that he's blindly going into office for a second time to do nothing good to get rid of a lot of these people.
Well, I mean, I
Time
think
will
that,
tell. Time will
yeah, I
tell.
mean, if he's not making good decisions in 6 months, I'm gonna roast his ass. But um, I think that, it's hard to drain the swamp when APAC is still lingering around, right? I put up the post on Instagram yesterday that they control 329 of our political officials in office. That's insane. And you see what's happening to, like, guys like Thomas Massey, who didn't agree with the TikTok ban. He doesn't. Thomas Massey's been going on tons of podcasts talking about how nothing's going to change unless we remove APAC away from our government. And
Hmm.
Thomas Massey is one of the very few political officials that's not funded by APAC, and he's made it as far as he has. And most of the politicians I follow, I see a lot. I follow him on X, but a lot of the politicians will talk shit about him on X because he doesn't
Oh,
agree
I'm
with
sure.
APAC,
Mhm.
and I think he's one of the true fighters, one of the true people that's really on our side. You know, whether you're Democrat or Republican, he's a truly a freedom loving American that's not going to be bought and paid for, and will just go out there and talk shit and do what he needs to do to get people to realize like he's a guy that believes that Israel should exist, but he doesn't want to fund them. Like
Mhm.
we don't need to give our billions of dollars of tax dollars to Ukraine and Israel, but we damn sure don't need to give all of our tax dollars to a foreign entity in our government funding our political officials.
Right. Yeah.
And I have a new
Yeah.
thing. I have a new thing. I've been going on APAC tracker, and I've been screenshotting politicians around different parts of the country, especially in our home state of Florida. There's like 35 or 40 fucking politicians that are um that represent the state of Florida that are funded by APAC. So I'm going to screenshot all of them, put one new politician up a day on my Instagram.
Yeah, you put Marco Rubio the other day.
Yeah, and I got Rick Scott, who's been since he's been in office, they've given him almost $700,000, and somebody's I
That's
saw one politician's up to like $4 million he's gotten from APAC.
that's Rick Scott's the Attorney General, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just.
it's
But to add to,
unfortunate.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say it's unfortunate because the political climate in this country has such a bad rep because of people like this and because of entities, if you want to call, like APAC. And like it sucks because going into politics used to be something that was like very noble and admirable. It's like going in the military. Like people
Hmm.
used to respect or think that they could respect politicians, and people used to go into the military for true like service of country. And now it's like it's um it just has a bad reputation, and it's really unfortunate because like that is the supposedly the leadership of our country. And it's like, I don't know, it's unfortunate. That's what I hope comes out of this administration, is like bringing nobility back to going into politics, not being afraid for your life, not being bought and paid for, not being coerced um into just being bribed for every little thing when you're supposed to represent your constituents. Like that is what American politics was founded on. So I hope that at least some draining, if you want, draining of the swamp happens with reestablishing like some true integrity in the government. I don't know if it'll
Well, and
happen.
holding people accountable
Yeah.
for their
Yeah.
horrible corruption and decision making and screwing this country over for so long, and
Behind closed
stealing,
doors.
yeah, and
Yeah.
stealing our money and not
Yeah.
getting away with it. I just saw a statistic yesterday. They gave $105 billion to Ukraine and 17 billion to Israel just in the month of January, and we're only 20 days in.
And if you were a victim of California wildfire, though, you get $700.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then North Carolina during the
It's
hurricane,
still, they're still struggling.
those people are freezing.
Yes.
But to add to what you were saying before about hopefully some of these people are scared. I guess in a sense we're starting to see some good stuff. I forgot who the dude was, but he was standing at the podium in the Capitol building, and they went after the CEO at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, yeah, the pedophile.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they got it. So hopefully, you know, uh, you know,
But
there's
but
somebody higher than P Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein, right? There's somebody else that's.
but at the same time, like again, because the government corruption has caused so much like distrust among people like us, like that are watching all these things happen. Like it makes you wonder too, though. Like that's great that they're unveiling like all these pedophiles, but it's like, is that also a tactic? Like is that another distraction from something? Like
Mhm.
so I mean, they put out the what was the distraction they put out right before the Hunter Biden uh pardon? Like nobody even fucking talked about that on, you know, on social media. No one was outraged about that because something else was going on. Now I can't remember what it was. Maybe that's when the fires started. I don't know what it was, but it was like, hello. So you just wonder if, yes, they're releasing all this information about these pedophiles and putting them on blast and whatever, and like that's awesome. But is that a cover up for something else too?
It usually always is. It's always like, watch what the left hand's doing while the right hand fucking hits you in the head.
Hmm.
And that's the way the media is designed, right? It's always, and podcasts, that thankfully for podcasts like people like Jay Rogan or Andy or some of these other podcasts like Sean Ryan, and um they've become such a key part to speaking truth and preaching truth and giving
Hmm.
messages for people that we can, things that we can actually believe and stand behind and get behind. Because what we get from Fox and CNN and NBC and CBS and stuff, I just saw CNN is worth what, like $600 million. Like their stock just keeps plummeting, and they'll still stay. They'll die on their. They'll die on that hill. Like they'll still say like all these things, and it's like, bro,
I
we knew
think,
that you guys were full of shit 2 years ago.
yeah, I think CNN, I think the statistic is something like they have less than a million primetime viewers too. Like the Real Housewives gets more viewers on a weekly basis than CNN does, like by a lot. Like
Mhm.
shout out Housewives. Like but
Shout out, Oxfight. That's funny. Well, let's go to the Dallas snowstorm. I thought that, so I'm in logistics, so that really threw a wrench in all my shit. And I have
Mhm.
a lot of customers back in the Dallas, in the Texas area in general, and that was crazy. I know we still have family and friends out there,
Yeah,
and thank God it wasn't as bad as like the other snowstorm. What was that in 20?
2010.
No, no, the more recent one, the Snowmageddon.
Oh, that
Was
was
that
like
21 or 20?
20, 21 or 22.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like Snowmageddon was like, that was just like a lot of ice.
yeah,
And it really like was like frozen for like 4 or 5 days. But this was actual snow, but it wasn't, it like that next, like it was Thursday and Friday, that next weekend, it was like 50 degrees. So it all melted pretty quickly. But it really threw a wrench in logistics as far as I can say with trucking. And it was
well,
pretty
yeah,
wild.
because yeah, we lived there. I mean, we both lived there for like 12 years, and I
I
mean,
never
we
seen
got
7 inches of snow in Dallas. Like 7 inches of legit
no.
snow, not an inch of snow that turned into an ice skating rink for 5 days.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like every year we would always in January, February, right? We would always get like snowfall that would just ice over all the roads. And like so to see snow and then especially to see um that much snow at one day. I mean, it was so pretty. It was like, oh, like but
Yeah.
yeah, luckily it wasn't I mean, obviously, like when people get snow, like there's snow all over the country, and like people go to work and they don't shut down the whole city and they don't, you know, because snow is easier to handle than ice. I never experienced snow like that in Dallas, but like that's crazy. It looked so pretty. Like I almost was kind of like envious that like we, you know, just moved like 7 months ago, and like that would have been cool to see 7 inches of snow in Dallas because we lived there for so long and never saw that.
Yeah, real snow too, like legit,
Yeah.
like powdery snow, not just like some fake. Like most of it, it was just ice storms. Like
Yeah.
every year, like when I met you, we were always locked in the house for like 3 days. But it was an ice storm.
Yeah.
Everything just turned to ice. It wasn't. It wasn't just like pretty powder snow, like multiple inches of snow where you could, drive around in it. You can
No.
drive on ice. It was just. It was kind of annoying.
Yeah. I
And then
saw a
I was
funny,
like, I'm seeing the pictures. I'm like, damn, that looks really cool. Like it'd be cool to see that.
yeah, I saw a funny video and it was obviously it was meant to be a funny video, but this woman took like a dildo and she put it upside down in the snow and she said, "Yes, I can confirm there's 10 inches of snow." It was funny.
That is
Um
funny.
But it was funny. But it looked so pretty. Like they're like on Facebook, I saw like, a bunch of our friends and they were like sledding with their kids and, just down like the little hill in your backyard. But like you were able to do that because you had snow. Like it wasn't just like you walk outside and you slip and fall and crack your head
Yeah.
open.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of envious we didn't get to see that, um, but
It's
once
okay.
in a lifetime.
We have big plans in our future life and the next couple of years, so we'll get to experience that more in the future.
Yeah.
Um, your hometown or your home city, well, not really your city, but the area and the region where you grew up, California had some crazy wildfires in LA. Um,
Yeah.
I heard I saw an interesting video of a dude. There was like some kind of state camera like in a park or something, and it was facing down into the park, and you could see this dude. He comes into the video and he's doing something, and then just a fire, and then he just runs away, and then then it just started growing from there. So they found video that it was started by somebody.
Mhm.
It just didn't happen.
So, yeah, so every year, like growing up in California, every year there's like wildfires every year and it's always arson, like there's always big investigations that get started and usually it's always arson and they have to figure out how it started. 9 times out of 10, it's not like a spontaneous fire that happens. Sometimes it is because you're always in a drought in California. So dry having really dry soil and really dry weather in the fall when we get like really bad wind in the fall, typically like really hot weather with wind, with dry hillsides and stuff like that. Like wildfires in the fall are very common, but
It's weird it's in the wintertime though,
yeah, because the
and not in the
weather,
summertime.
yeah, because it's not hot and it's not windy. So, I mean,
Right.
yes, arson. It, the part that's really sad, the part that obviously it's all sad when people lose their houses, especially for something like arson. And I think there was 4 fires at one point burning at the same time. Um, the saddest part of the whole thing is Governor Newsom, right? Like defunded the um
Fire department.
fire the fire department fund like weeks before this happened by like millions of dollars. And when the firefighters are trying to put out fires, they go to the fire hydrants and open them up and everything's empty. And that really infuriated a lot of like what I was talking about earlier, like a lot of Hollywood kind of like, because obviously like the Palisades in LA is very expensive. I mean, $10 million homes plus a lot of celebrities live there. um it overlooks the ocean. Like the Palisades is I mean, it's very expensive real estate. And like most people that live in the Palisades are not, like I said, they're not like the Oprahs or that have $100 million homes. Like the Palisades are pretty like middle class celebrity. So like a $7 million home. Like so you a lot of those people, I know like Jillian Michaels spoke out about it, and a bunch of other celebrities came out and were like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
Like, it's one thing to know that like you have a bad governor, but then to know that your governor put you in like literally a state of emergency that was self-inflicted is like that's a treasonous act right there. And the fact that so much of Hollywood came out and said something about it was I mean, it kind of was nice to see that.
Yeah, they need to kick that motherfucker out of office. I know they're doing a re-election
A
or
recall.
what's a recall on on yeah.
They're
They did
trying.
they tried that a couple like 2 or 3 years ago, and he beat it by like 100,000 votes or something. And I'm like, man, this guy,
Yeah, they tried it after COVID.
yeah, he fucking sucks. That dude. They need to get him out of there. Like, if you want to be a little bit Democrat or whatever, but that kind of Democrat, that dude is fucking. He just I can't stand the shitty smug look that he has on his face when every time he opens his mouth, it's just lies.
Well, and another thing that I thought was interesting too, and I haven't looked into like how factual some of the information is that I've read, but um there were a bunch of insurance companies that like dropped policyholders
Hmm.
homeowners insurance like a couple months ago, just like out of nowhere. So then you
Yep.
think like, is this part of some orchestrated event too?
Well, and I also heard, I allegedly, I heard this was an interesting theory that I heard, and um, but they said, a lot of Hollywood with all the evidence of pedophilia and all this stuff with what's happening. What ends if they're trying to burn all the evidence?
Oh yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting theory that because if everything's just burning, and then how do you, now that Trump's coming into office, we would hope that some of these people or a lot of these people are going to start getting found out and start getting arrested. But now, if all the evidence is wiped away, how do we know who did what and who did what and or who did what and where they did it and how they did it and be if all the everything's burned all the hell.
Yeah, I think two two things to note about that. Um, like I said, the Palisades isn't like the most rich people.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's rich people. Like, I mean, it's rich people, but it's not like, I think if a fire, because so Pacific Palisades is like up on a hill. So it would make sense that, a fire could be started in a national park because the way that North LA is, like if you look on a map, like North LA is situated all around the mountains and the hillsides. And then if you go
Hmm.
over one side of the mountain, you're in the valley, and you go over the other side, you're at the beach. So it would make sense that a fire would be started in the mountains to head towards the Palisades. Whereas, people like Diddy and the Playboy Mansion and, all of these big pedophiles, they all lived in a different part of LA. So I don't necessarily think that it was for that reason, but it could have been.
Hmm.
Anything's possible. Um, and then the second thing I was going to say about that, everything now is recorded and put on like a server somewhere. Like, so unless they're burning down Silicon Valley, where like all the servers are, like I think there's so much evidence that's on a server somewhere that I don't think that burning down someone's house is going to necessarily like obliterate any evidence that would be against someone if you're truly like a hardcore pedophile. Um, but that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, that's good. Um, and oh, we got two more topics. TikTok
Hmm.
is back,
TikTok is back.
so it got banned
How,
for 12 hours.
yeah, I think it was like 15 hours.
Yeah, and then they brought it back. Trump is trying to work out, or Trump worked out a deal with them, or is slowly working out a deal with them. Um, I think for a long time in our life growing up, anything that's ever happened in our country, they always put a lot of blame on China.
Yeah.
And I think with the and I heard Theo Vaughn and Dave Smith talking about this on the podcast that they did, and Dave Smith made a great point. He said a lot of because TikTok is not really it's not controlled by anybody here locally in Meta or whatever. Like Meta, like Mark Zuckerberg being on Joe Rogan talking about, oh, the government made me do this, and I think he's a little bit full of shit.
Hmm.
I don't know if I trust him or trust some of the things that he's saying. I think he's trying to placate on popularism and what's
Hmm.
popular now. And I think a lot of these people are, everybody's saying, oh, the tide's changing. And
No, it's backpedaling, backpedaling.
yeah, it's backpedaling, and I think because it's the popular thing, I think um Mind Pump had said Sal said something great on Mind Pump when I was listening to their podcast. He said that anytime something shifts so rapidly, when the pendulum swings so fast, and everybody for such a long time they were on this side, and now everybody all of a sudden, 24 to 48 hours later, they're on this side. Um, yeah, I think he named it, or the term was popularism, and he said it's not healthy, and I can see everybody's trying to be on the right side of history now, right? Because like we talked about with like Trump and Obama talking at the Jimmy Carter funeral, people don't want to be in that space where um they're in this pocket of, oh shit, I committed all these crimes for so many years.
Yeah.
Now I need to be on this side of history so I don't look like the bad person. And it's kind of, I don't know. He spent so many years censoring people, and I remember being on Instagram and my shit would get taken down, or you know,
But
I go
also
from a
like
thousand views to like 50 views or whatever. It just,
but also like I mean, even if that's the case, like even if you're Mark Zuckerberg and you're trying to like repent for some sort of bullshit that you've been a part of for 20 years, like
Mhm,
okay, if you've had some sort of attack of conscience, okay, that's great. But you still did all those things and that can't be forgotten. Like I mean, you made your bed, you have to lie in it. Like, I think it's great if you've come to some sort of you've had some sort of Jesus moment in your life and now you are, semi-apologetic. Really, it's more so you're placing blame on someone who made you do something, who had your arms tied. That's fine. But like you still did it. So
mhm.
you still have to be held accountable for it. Whether you choose or want to be on the right side of history, I think that's great. But you weren't, and you contributed to a lot of what has gone on in the last 20 plus years within social media. And you still have to be held accountable for that.
Well, what Dave Smith said, which I thought was a great point, a lot of young people have been on um, TikTok, and a lot
Right.
of videos have gotten posted on TikTok for things that Israel is doing to Gaza and all the
Yeah.
innocent children that are dying. And I think it's, somewhere around, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 kids that have died since this whole proxy war started
Hmm.
last year that we've paid billions of dollars for out of our tax dollars. And I think that's a great thing because you can't, you're nobody, nothing on TikTok is censored. So you can post whatever you want pretty much, and it will get out there and people can see the truth to these certain things. Whereas you can't post that on Instagram, and the United States can't control it, right? They can go to Mark Zuckerberg, say, hey, anything about this topic, take it down. They can't go to TikTok and say, hey, anything regarding this topic, take it down.
Well, the thing about TikTok, which I would like to say TikTok is my favorite social media platform. I love
It's
it.
my
And
favorite social media platform too. I don't even like going on Instagram.
yeah, like TikTok is my favorite. It's the easiest to grow on TikTok. It's the most fun to be on TikTok. It's the most engaging app for social media. But the thing about TikTok, yes, it's not as heavily censored and monitored. The only way that your stuff gets censored most of the time on TikTok is from people reporting your stuff. So
Hmm.
again, to what you were saying about what Dave Smith was saying, like there's a general consensus, right? If these videos are being posted on TikTok and they're not being taken down, it's because people agree with them. People,
Hmm.
they want to see more of that. Like the Sean Ryan stuff that was posted, um, that never would have made it onto a meta platform. Like now TikTok, I'm sorry, X is the obviously the most uncensored platform. TikTok
Hmm.
being close behind it because you really have to have some haters out there to get you taken down on TikTok.
Hmm.
Because of like community guideline violations and stuff. But there is still some shit on TikTok that would never be on Meta. So I think that's a testament too of like this is the true temperature of the room. Like the temperature of the room is like there TikTok is not full of censorship bots like the meta platforms were.
Hmm.
There are still bots, but like it's not a censorship bot like it was on Meta. And, you have to have a lot of community guideline violation reported by actual people, which a bot is not going to report. Those are actual people that you've pissed off and hated to get your stuff banned. So, like, the true temperature of the room, if that stuff is still being posted on TikTok, is there's not a whole lot of reporting going on to violate these community guidelines. Like, people want to see that. They want to be told the truth,
Hmm.
you know? So,
Well, I think, and now just since last week, now Mark Zuckerberg has said, "Oh, we're getting rid of all the fact checking people that all the fact checking companies that we work with. They're getting rid
mhm,
of them."
he's annoying. Like, and he's just, I think Mark Zuckerberg is so creepy. Like, I don't,
Hmm. Um, and last topic, red dye number 3.
yeah. Yeah.
It
So
just got banned by the FDA.
yeah, January 15th. So there's pros and cons to this this red dye number 3 ban. Um, it's a good step. But it's also like there's so much more work that has to be done, right, in the health and food industry. Like, so I had to do some research because I wasn't quite sure the difference between there's red dye number 3 and red dye 40, and then there's blue 40 and there's yellow 5, all the food dyes.
Yeah, what about all
So
that shit? Banned all that stuff too.
yeah, and so red dye number 3 and red dye number 40 are both synthetic chemicals that are derived from petroleum. So chemical compounds that you should not be putting in your body. Um,
We put it in our car.
we put it in our car. So red dye number 3, I think from what I gathered on the research is red dye number 3 contains benzene, which is cancer causing, and red 40, uh, because it's been lab tested to cause and been known to cause cancer now at this point in time by the FDA, they're now banning it because it's been proven to cause cancer. Whereas red 40, not that red 40 doesn't cause cancer, but the FDA has not come out and said that it causes cancer. So all of these food additives cause cancer. They're all cancer related because any toxic chemical you're putting in your body is messing with your metabolic functionality in your body, which is going to cause your body to freak out. And so it's great that they banned red dye number 3 because it's known to cause, ADHD and depression and behavioral disorders and skin irritations and all kinds of bad stuff in your body, especially if you're a child with a, you know, innocent um gut and stuff is known to cause gut inflammation. And now with these cancer causing, these proven cancer causing um situations happening, like if you look at a food label, like food dyes are in so many things that you wouldn't even think that they're in baby foods, they're in, you know obviously things that are colored brightly for kids, right, like popsicles and chips and sports drinks and soda, and juice in particular is a big one. If you're especially if you're like a mom on like a WIC program, and you get
Hmm.
government assistance, you get all the shitty food is covered under WIC, all the Kool-Aid and Gatorade, and not a strawberry, but Doritos, which are artificially colored. Um, so that from what I researched is like the two big differences is one, the FDA has actually come out and said this causes cancer in lab trials, and the other one, they just haven't said it causes cancer. So it's great that they're doing the ban, but like it's also kind of cop out bullshit because red dye number 40 is in more things and potentially could be a worse chemical that's in. I mean, what did I write down here? They found red 40 and red dye number 3 in over 36,000 foods in the United States.
I
Most
think
of
it's
those
all got
being,
to go. And
yeah,
I don't trust any three-letter agency, first of all. This is coming
right.
from the same people that said, oh, you got to take the vaccine. You got to take the vaccine, right? And then um, all these other dyes, blue 30 and yellow 5 and red 40 and all that other shit. And plus, red dye number
Yep.
3 has been in food since 1969. So it got, it was implemented, or yeah, implemented in 1969. So it's how ironic that, 55 years later, it's almost 60 years later, you found out now it causes cancer after it's been in people's bodies for 60 years.
Well, that's like, the people that have finally woken up to certain vaccines, people that have finally woken up to how bad healthcare is in this country, how bad alcohol consumption is, how high cancer causing alcohol is in your system, people just paying more attention to their health in general. And again, I think this is a tribute to a lot of things that have come out since COVID, like
Mhm.
seeing how much the government really fucks people, especially in, the FDA in particular. Like everyone's health is fucked up. And it's good that people are starting to realize it, but there's so much work to do. And there's countries all over the world, Australia and countries in Europe in particular, who have such high strict food standards, especially on foods that go to kids like baby formula, baby foods, juices that kids drink, and foods that are marketed to kids. And like our government has just, it's a slow poison for so, like you said, like 55 years.
Yeah, have you ever seen the Fruit Loops in Europe versus the Fruit Loops in America?
Yeah.
Like how much darker in color the ones in
Hmm.
America are versus the one in Europe. It's just,
Yeah, fake colors, chemicals.
yeah, I don't trust any of these three-letter agencies. I think like this is it. It sounds like it's a good thing from the outside looking in. Like, yay, they banned red dye number three. But
Right,
is it one of those things where they're trying to be on the right side of history? Also, like, oh, okay, Trump's getting into office. RFK is going to be the health director. Um, we got to do something. And obviously, they did it right at the end of Joe Biden's term to make it look like that he actually did it, right? Like he had,
right,
and now going into Trump's turn, we're never going to hear the end of it. Oh, Joe Biden got red dye number three banned in food, but it doesn't take place until 2027. So let's keep giving cancer to people for another 2 years.
right. I mean, I don't want to take away the fact that it is positive that that the ban is supposedly going to be in effect, but um, just in our typical let's question everything self, right? It's like the
Hmm.
deed is good, but there's so much more that has to be done.
Well, and two, the frustrating thing, I hate when they just give us a little crumbs to say that they gave us something, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
well,
like
we did
it's
this, so here,
placating.
just, yeah, like
Yeah.
here, we did this, so just, you know, for every fucking 100 fucked up things that we do, we'll give you one thing.
Well, yeah, that it's like the same thing like going back to the wildfires. It's like, oh, like okay, but here's $700. I mean, we may have fucked you and we couldn't put your fire out and it burned down, 500,000 acres in California, but here
And
we'll
we
give you
sent
$700.
Yeah, and we just, why this fire is going on. Hey, we just want to let you know we just sent $137 billion to two countries for some fucking bullshit.
Yeah. So it's just like you said, it's just like it's mass placating all the time.
Mhm.
Like we're going to pacify you with something.
Yep.
Um but yeah, it's pretty it's and if you don't know what's going on, like literally just open your eyes like a little bit and like it's
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yep. That was a
So,
good. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to episode 69 of the 4P podcast. Thank you, and like I said earlier, please like and subscribe and share our show if you guys like the show. If you feel that there's value, please share it with your friends and your family. Share it on social media. Tag us, and we'll share it. And if you guys got anything, shoot us a message on TikTok or Facebook or TikTok X or Instagram, and then go to our YouTube channel and please like and subscribe. And then go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and like and subscribe also. We appreciate you guys, and thank you for listening to episode 69.
bye.
Take it easy.